Ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the August VetNet hosted by the Daniello Institute for Veterans and Military Families. Welcome. We're glad you're here. I'm Melissa Bird. I am the Associate Director of Entrepreneurship Strategic Programs and Partnerships here at the IVMF, which is an extremely long-winded way to say I work in our entrepreneurship training programs. I've been here with the IVMF for 8 years now, supporting one or many of our nearly 12 different entrepreneurship training programs and resources that we have available to you. We are going to have such a great time today. This meeting is being recorded. If you do have to pop off early for another reason, there will be a recording that is sent out later. And just a quick reminder, and I'll mention this again at the end of our chat today, that there will be a survey when you sign off from this Zoom, and we would love your feedback on our topic today and get to know you a little bit more. And again, that recording, will be sent to you after the fact today. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get started, if I may. So I mentioned I'm Melissa. I'm coming to you from balmy Oklahoma City, where my husband is still serving in the Air Force. And I have the pleasure of having a conversation today with Anupa Maru from Amazon. Anupa, may I turn over to you to do a brief introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Melissa, for inviting us here today. Really excited to speak with our audience. So I've been with Amazon for just over 3 years and have about 15 years of experience in business development. In my role at Amazon, I get the opportunity to work directly with our sellers, helping them grow their businesses, helping to identify strategies to just accelerate overall with Amazon. On the personal side, I grew up in Michigan. I live in the DC area now with my husband and my two kids. And speaking of kids, Melissa, I think you have some kids, so I'm sure you've been a little busy with back to school shopping recently. How's that been going?
It's been a struggle. So we are T minus 2 days until we are back to school in the birdhouse out here, and it has been the longest summer, but the shortest summer at the same time. And we are really in that thick of back to school. The last minute school supplies, all kinds of good stuff. So most recently, I have to tell you a story. We were looking for a lunchbox. So my son is going into the second grade. He's the youngest, and God forbid he doesn't go without the latest and greatest, coolest lunchbox. We're not brown bagging it apparently anymore, so we have to be a little more eco-friendly. And naturally, I went to Amazon, and I don't know if this is a great decision or a poor decision, but I wanted it to be a team decision as to what lunchbox he was going to get. And the incredible number of options we found, we were using that search bar so well to try to pare it down and narrow down the options, because when you just type in boys lunchbox, there are thousands upon thousands of ideas. So we had to pare it down by using that search bar with, is it sports? Is it specific sports? He's very much into very specific sports right now. But then you might see a suggested post for Minecraft. Now, all of a sudden, that side of his brain is triggered as well. And he got very excited. It was a very tough decision. But really, what it came down to, the look is just one part of it. I needed something quick because I did not plan this. This August really crept up on me. So I did not plan far enough ahead to get these in time. So I was looking for something that had prime delivery that was going to arrive within the next 2 days or so. And I needed something that was going to be cost effective. And I look at the ratings. So if it's something is not rated as well, I'm probably not going to give it the time of day, whether or not it's a good quality product, because I'm relying on what other consumers like myself are looking for. So that is just one of many experiences we've had lately with Amazon to get ready to that back to school rush.
Well, I hear you, and you are ahead of me because we're T minus 5 days, and my son still doesn't have a backpack. So that is something I'll be doing later today. But I appreciate you sharing that story because you actually, and before we jump into some of the other things, you did touch on a few items I wanted to talk about today. Just looking at customer purchasing habits. So I think, you mentioned you naturally went to Amazon. I think many of us do go to Amazon for our shopping for a couple reasons. One is it's easy. Whether you go to the website, you've got the app on your phone, all your info is already like in there in your profile. So it just makes it easy. It makes it quick. But the easy is like one big thing that we see our customers are really looking for right now. Um, the next one is reliable. So you mentioned that you did look at the reviews before purchasing. Um, I know that I've even found myself like in a store wanting to buy something, but then I hesitate because I want to be able to look at it online to see what the reviews are. And I think that's pretty common across the board nowadays. And then the last thing that you touched on was quick. I think like as a society, we've kind of become accustomed to wanting everything as quickly as possible. We don't want to wait. We don't want to wait for things to be shipped and it to take a few extra days, things like that. So that's one of the key aspects with Amazon that we'll be talking about a little bit more throughout this call. But three main things that customers are looking for is that easy, reliable, and quick.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for that. Great points. And that's for moms, for dads, for people that are running a business at home, for people that are just needing some, like maybe you can't get out and get to a store physically and you need some supplies at your house. Amazon's very like those three keywords definitely hit the mark for when I'm thinking about why I'm using Amazon. Those are definitely top priority for me. So when you all registered for this webinar, you were able to submit questions. So we have looked at those questions. We appreciate the thoughtfulness that you all put into that, and we are excited to address as many of those as we can during this conversation. But a common question that we received was people expressing interest or curiosity about starting a business for additional income. Can you give us some insights into what type of products you can sell on Amazon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's such a wide range of products that you can find on Amazon, whether it's like home products, home decor, clothing, groceries, um, health and beauty products, vitamins, shampoo, conditioner. So really a huge range of products. We do have some restrictions. So like, nothing that's illegal. There could be some items where there's like safety concerns. There also might be some items that require compliance certificates. But honestly, it's a huge, huge range of products. What's really cool is we also have, as a seller, you also have the ability to offer customized products. So if you're getting, something with like a name on it or, something like that, so you can do customized products. And we also have a category for handmade products and a special part of our site that's dedicated to handmade products. So huge, huge range there.
That's very, very cool. So for some of these products, do you have to have your own name brand, like your own individual brand, or can you become a reseller on Amazon?
That's a good question. So we do have a brand registry program that certainly comes with some benefits, and that might be certain things like helping protect your IP, managing the content of your listings, or having like a greater ability to manage that content, eligibility for some of our programs. But you can absolutely be a reseller as well. I actually, I mentioned in my role, I work directly with sellers. I work with a lot of resellers that have done very, very well on Amazon. So great question.
Very, very cool. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So a lot of people also ask, so there's a lot of interest with Amazon. I love this. They want to learn more about different fulfillment options that you have with Amazon. Can you walk us through what that process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the options being a third party seller on Amazon, you can have what we call MFN or a merchant fulfilled network. And this would be where you store your own products. When an order is placed, you're going to, go ahead, package it, ship it out. You'll print your labels and you'll ship out each individual order. We also have the option of FBA, which stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. And I think we'll go into this in some more detail. But this would be where a seller would send their inventory kind of in bulk to one of Amazon's fulfillment centers, and then we'll manage all aspects of processing those orders and fulfilling those orders on the seller's behalf. And then we've also recently reintroduced another option, which is called Seller Fulfilled Prime, or SFP for short. And this would be where a seller is actually fulfilling their own orders, but replicating that experience that a customer would have with FBA. So it would still be eligible for that 2-day free shipping for our Prime members. So that is another option. Each of these fulfillment options are have different guidelines, different ways that you would use it. And what's really cool is you don't have to commit to one or the other. You could use one, you could use two, you could use all three different fulfillment methods, just based on what is best for your business.
That's excellent. It's nice to know that there are options, and I love that Amazon walks you through the different options. You don't have to just pick one lane and stick with that forever. So let's dive deeper into one of them. Can you tell us more a little bit about FBA, which you said I believe was fulfillment by Amazon, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So um, Amazon has created one of the most advanced fulfillment networks in the world. We have fulfillment centers across the country, actually across the world. And this is where our selling partners would send their products to be stored at an Amazon fulfillment center. And then Amazon will pick, pack, and ship those products as orders are placed. Amazon also manages the customer service and the returns that are related to fulfillment as well. Um, and this is where, like, as you're shopping on Amazon, you may have noticed that there's like some of the listings will say Prime and have a little check mark next to it. So that's your indication that it's actually being fulfilled by Amazon. And you'll be able to see that on the listing too, where it'll say like it might be sold by another seller, but it's being fulfilled by Amazon. So we call that little Prime, where it says Prime and that check mark, we call that the Prime badge. That's the indicator to a customer that they're going to receive that with that free 2-day or less shipping for our Prime members. Um, and there's also, as you're searching for products on Amazon, there's also a filter where you can search for products that are only Prime eligible, where you can get it in 2 days, and then you'll also, for some products, be able to see like, well, what can I get tomorrow? What can I get by 5 p.m. today? So we're constantly innovating and enhancing our network to be able to get that product faster in our customers' hands.
That is definitely key. I know my husband was traveling for work, needed a supply, ordered it from Amazon. He said it arrived at the hotel less than 2 hours later. Just must have been near a fulfillment center. But I love the fact that there are these centers all over the country. And so that really helps with that fast, quick shipping. Back to your earlier point about easy, reliable, and quick, those are definitely keys. So expand a little bit further for me. So how would a seller get their product to Amazon to be a part of FBA?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to break that down into 3 steps. So that first step is going to be sending the inventory to our fulfillment center. So the inventory that you're going to be sending, you'll enter it into our system. It's going to give you um, instructions on how to package that and separating into different pallets, things like that, how to label that product. So we have step-by-step videos on our website, through Seller University. So we have a lot of resources to walk you through exactly how to do that. And then in the second step, once that product arrives to the fulfillment center, Amazon is going to sort that inventory, and it's actually going to be rerouted or transferred to different fulfillment centers across the country. The idea there is we want to get the product as close to the customer as possible. So you mentioned your husband received that package within 2 hours. It must have been something that was available very close to him, which is fantastic. But we do try to get that spread out. So just to give you an example of how that would work, imagine that a seller was sending in beach toys. We're going to send more of that inventory to Florida than we would to Minnesota, as an example, just based on that geographical or that geographic demand. And then, another example you were mentioning earlier about like, your son's really into sports, and if there was a particular team, maybe product within that team would be closer to whatever city that sports team is, or just different things like that, using our data and our intelligence to be able to predict where we're going to be seeing the greatest demand, to help us continuing to reduce that delivery time to our customers. And then the third step there is, once that inventory is spread out across our network and an order is placed, Amazon will actually go through and pick the products off the shelves, package them, ship them out to the customers. So we take care of that whole like pick, pack, and ship for you.
That's fantastic. And I know I can only imagine the ridiculous amount of data that there is just knowing the customer and knowing how it works. So to your point about distributing across various fulfillment centers, that's definitely a strong suit of Amazon. They really know the audience that they're serving, and they're going to be able to give you a lot of that insight as you start to sell your product on Amazon and through different avenues through Amazon as well. But tell me a little bit more about what are the benefits to the seller. So we've talked about getting into fulfillment centers across the country, so you're going to be hopefully closer to your customer. But what benefits do you have for the seller? How does this help them grow their sales?
Yeah, great question. So with Amazon and simply just being on Amazon is going to help you scale your business and reach more customers. It is, a very common, like, when someone's looking to purchase something, it's very, very common for them to start on Amazon. It's going to allow you to serve your customers faster. It's going to allow you to reduce that, what we call click to promise or click to delivery times, which is greatly going to improve your conversion rate. We see on average like a 20 to 30% sales lift once that Prime badge is added to a listing. Um, and then, you had mentioned a couple examples with your husband. I actually have this weekend or Friday night, my daughter has a birthday party to go to, and we haven't purchased a gift yet. So that's on my list to do this evening. But again, it's just so great for those last minute items, whether it's for a trip, whether it's a gift or just, something that you ran out of at home that you need. We also do have a lot of FBA programs to help our sellers increase that sale. So things like virtual bundles. And a quick example, like if you're buying shampoo, you might want the same conditioner to go with it, or like the same brand of conditioner to go with it. So we do have the ability for our sellers to create virtual bundles. We also do have subscription options. So, it might be in the morning, you're making your coffee and, instead of realizing you're running low on coffee, you can put that on a subscription. So every month you're getting a fresh delivery to your door, so that you don't have that experience of running out. So we do have a lot of other programs as well, but those are two just to give a few examples.
They're great examples. We have a subscription for dog food because that was one of those that was just really tough for us to keep top of mind. I know with my work here at the IVMF, with as I mentioned, nearly a dozen different entrepreneurship training programs. I also an entrepreneur myself, and I am often thinking about all kinds of different things for my business at the most inconvenient time. So not actually when I'm sitting at my desk, but when I'm doing all kinds of other things and just this random thought pops into my head. So people here, these are great entrepreneurs as well. They're busy. They're trying to launch and grow their business. Maybe they're getting kids ready back for school. Maybe they're caring for aging parents. There's all kinds of other things that they have going on. How can FBA help save them time in their business?
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest benefits outside of the sales lift. So of course there's the sales lift by being on Amazon and having your product eligible for that free 2-day shipping. But saving time. So because Amazon is managing all aspects of the order with like the invoicing and the picking and the packing, the shipping, customer service, even managing returns, it allows our sellers to focus on growing their business instead of spending the time managing the logistics of fulfilling individual orders. So our small business orders can spend more time introducing amazing products or, driving customer delight with the things that they're introducing into the market and less time dealing with complex logistics or warehousing or fulfillment or customer service or, any of those other aspects of running a business.
I imagine that is super helpful during, holidays, during, even weekends. Can you expand upon that a little bit more about increasing some of those benefits into some of those tough to reach times of the year?
Yeah, well, so our operations do run 365 days a year, which is especially, as you mentioned, like especially important during those peak times, such as November and December, that, Amazon does make that investment in the additional staffing in order to be able to fulfill those orders. So being a third party seller on Amazon using FBA, you would have access to that fulfillment network that Amazon has already invested tens of billions of dollars into, instead of having to make your own investments and increasing your staffing. And so it allows you to like utilize those resources when you need them most.
Thank you for that. You brought up a great point that just triggered a thought in my head that when you're talking about fulfillment and growth, November and December certainly being very busy times of the year traditionally for products, not everyone is a medium or large size business. So if you are looking to start selling on Amazon, are there minimums? Is there a minimum requirement for the number of products that you need to offer?
So that there are no minimums actually. So you can start out with even just a couple products or even just one product. You can test it out, see how it's working for your business, and that's going to allow you to get real time data to see if determine what that best path forward is. So whether that's, hey, it worked out great, we want to sell more, or maybe that wasn't as much of a hit as we thought it was going to be, so we're going to scale back and maybe try something else.
So using that data, how does that, can you explain a little bit more about how that works? Like would a seller need to be using multiple fulfillment options, or how would that work out to test that and to receive that data?
So that is some of the flexibility that Amazon does provide to sellers. And so, if you want to use FBA for some, or even FBA during like peak times, you can certainly do that. If you want to have some products going through FBA, some merchant fulfilled, because maybe it's much lower volume, or there's like some seasonal aspects, or things like that. You'd have the flexibility to use what works best for you. So once you do you can test things out, you collect that data, and then you can determine what's best for your business.
That's awesome. Thank you. I love the flexibility and the various options that you have. I'd love to go back to some audience questions, some registration questions, if I could. We had a handful of questions about fees. As much as we would love to believe so, nothing is free anymore. But could you walk us through what does the structure look like for a seller to be on Amazon?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and certainly one that we get quite frequently as someone is looking to start their business on Amazon. So the cost to be a professional seller on Amazon is going to be about $40 a month, and that's going to be to be a professional seller. But you also can choose the option for individual, especially if you want to just test it out with a couple products or a couple units to see how it works. In addition to that monthly fee, there are going to be referral fees that are going to be based, it's going to be like a percentage that's going to be based on the product category as well as the price. And then there is also the cost to fulfill the order. So if you are doing that merchant fulfilled, it's going to be whatever your shipping cost is to the customer. And if you're choosing to use FBA, then there is going to be a fulfillment fee that is charged, and that's going to be based on the size and the weight of the item. So if you choose to use FBA, you would be responsible for shipping your product to a fulfillment center, but you're going to do that in bulk. And you would have the option to use one of our partnered carriers, which would provide you significant discounts on your shipping costs. And then once that item is an FBA, I mentioned that process of moving it around to different fulfillment centers across the country. That is done at no additional cost to the seller. And then the cost to ship those products to the end customer is already included in the FBA fee as well. So one thing you are going to see, like as I talk about the FBA fees, some average like numbers just to process that. Typically, it is going to be about 32% less per unit than your standard shipping cost, and about 72% less per unit when you're looking at other carrier like 2-day options. So that's one of the other benefits that our sellers do see when they use FBA.
That's a
And then we
really
do have,
significant, that's a
yeah, absolutely,
significant
it is
cost
really
saving.
significant. And then we do have a revenue calculator that's available to our sellers to help, like you'll input the information about your product, and then it's going to help you determine what would be most profitable for your products.
That's Those are a lot of really great benefits. Like when you're thinking about the process of getting a product maybe from your warehouse, like maybe you're done with production, you're trying to get it from your warehouse to the customer and going through a partner like Amazon. It seems as though you have walked through all of those steps yourselves and are doing your best to try to make it easy for the seller, that you don't have to go find your own carrier. You can find your own carrier. I hope you know somebody, because it's not an easy task to find a reputable, reliable carrier. So it sounds like you've walked through a lot of that process just to really make it easier on the seller. And I appreciate that very much. With a lot of the entrepreneurs I've worked for, it's a challenge, and sometimes you have the great product but you're stuck trying to get it in the customer's hands. So with some of these benefits that you've mentioned, um, what else does Amazon have to offer for new sellers? We've talked a lot about the shipment aspect of it, but what about getting your name out there and really helping to show that you have a product on Amazon outside of your own individual efforts?
Well, we have a variety of different incentives that we offer to our new sellers. And this can range from credits towards advertising, credits towards promotion, or um, toward free shipping to fulfillment centers. We also offer for new products free storage, eligibility to receive rebates on that, waivers for some of our fees. So there's a ton of incentives that we do offer to our new sellers. We want you to come to Amazon. We want you to be successful. Um, and we're continuing to enhance those benefits, to refine them, and how can we make this whole process easier? How can we make it more profitable? So we're continuing to innovate on our end.
Very, very cool. So this is such incredible information. Again, as a reminder to everyone that's here, you will be getting a recording of this conversation as well. So you can go back and look back at key points that we've mentioned to make sure that you have gotten that information correctly, you've taken copious notes correctly. So we've talked a lot about new sellers on Amazon, but I know that we have people in the audience here who are already selling on Amazon. So what other programs do you have, if any, that are available to those who are already selling on Amazon to help enhance their business in the marketplace?
Great question. So I did mention earlier the partner carrier program. So that is one of the cost saving programs that we offer to our existing sellers, allowing you to use, our carriers, our negotiated rates to send your products to FBA. We also have a program called the FBA New Selection Program. So this would be, any items that are new to FBA. So not necessarily, new to Amazon, but just new through that fulfillment network. We're going to give you free monthly storage. We're going to give you free liquidations. We're going to um, offer you rebates, which would be a percentage of the sales. So different ways, again, to provide those cost savings and give you the opportunity to test out products with Amazon. We also have another program that is called Ships and Product Packaging, or SIP for short. Um, Typically, when we send a product to a customer, it's going to be repackaged. So we'll put it in another box or another, like a padded bag or something like that. So this would eliminate that step, and it would allow Amazon to put the packaging label directly, directly on the box itself, and ship it out. We do offer a cost savings for that, and there's also the sustainability factor there of not using that extra packaging. So, as we continue to innovate to bring more programs to our customers, we're also trying to, reduce our carbon footprint and be more sustainable as an organization as well. And then with that, we do want to pass those savings along to our sellers.
Very, very cool. I can think back to getting, diapers from Amazon and it coming in the packaging itself instead of another box, and not realizing, when I was making that purchase, that it was trying to help in that regard with having the own packaging versus the expert packaging on top of that. That's great. Thank you. Another question that we received, I got a handful more questions. If you don't mind, we'll run through a few more.
Of course.
Another area that I heard about a few different times in the registration questions was how Amazon can help someone grow. So different opportunities. how do you work with vendors so that they're sellers so that they're not just out on their own trying to figure out what comes next? Maybe their business got off the ground, they're starting to build a base, but how do they really grow? Where does Amazon come in and partner with them and help to support them in that effort?
Yeah, so that's actually a key component of what I do in my roles. So I'm going to warn you, I could probably talk about this one for quite some time, but I'm going to try to narrow it down a little bit to some of the key programs. So in my role, I work directly with sellers. I help them identify growth opportunities. I help them identify programs that would be beneficial for their business, as well as cost saving opportunities. With that, like, you know, I've been very, very fortunate to be able to work with sellers that maybe started operating out of their business or their garage and have now transformed into a multi-million dollar company, partially thanks to their partnership with Amazon. So being on Amazon itself is going to help drive more brand awareness. It's going to make your products more accessible. And so like that's one aspect of it. But there are a lot of options or different programs around advertising to again help with that brand or that product awareness. We have events such as Prime Day, where we're investing in that, you know, that marketing to help bring more customers to your listings and to your products. So those events like Prime Day, we have one coming up here in the fall, are certainly a huge aspect to driving growth for our sellers. We also have programs where you can help utilize like social media or help get your products out in front of influencers. We have programs like Subscribe and Save. So that was one that I mentioned earlier with coffee. If there's a certain coffee that you like and you want that delivery to come every month or every 2 months or whatever frequency or other consumable items that you're using on a regular basis. So Subscribe and Save really, really helps your sellers because you don't have to go acquire those customers every time. And those are repeat sales that, you're going to continue to benefit from. We also have programs that are geared toward sellers that are trying to get their products out in front of other businesses. So whether that's selling in larger quantities, offering like a tiered volume-based pricing, you have the ability to do that on Amazon as well. Let's see. There's also, so one of my favorite areas is there is a page on Seller Central called Growth Opportunities. And this is where using all that data that Amazon has collected, Amazon's going to give you recommendations like ASIN level or like product level recommendations on how we think you could improve your sales. And then actually put a number there too to help you prioritize which of the actions we think is going to give you the best return. So that could be improvements to your listing, improvements to your images, advertising, what type of advertising to do, enrolling it into different programs that we have. So there's a ton of resources, a ton of programs that are available.
That definitely is a lot. So we've covered a lot of ground. If you could sum it up into, let's say, your top three recommendations for a new product on Amazon, what are those three main programs or incentives or components that you would recommend to a new seller?
Oh, that is a good one because I know I did mention a lot already. So for a new product, I would say my top three recommendations would be make sure that listing is optimized, have great images, have great details. If it's apparel, have size charts, have all that detail in there on day one because you want your customers to be well informed on the product before they're purchasing it. Because that's going to help you minimize returns. It's going to help you get better ratings, things like that, because the customer knows what they're looking for, or sorry, they know exactly what they're going to be getting based on your description. So optimizing your listing would definitely be one of them. I mentioned reviews. So we have a program called Vine, where you have the ability to enroll those products into Vine and get those in front of trusted Amazon reviewers to help you get some reviews right off the bat as you introduce new products. Because, as you had even mentioned earlier, and I think many of us tend to rely on those reviews since there's so many options that are out there. So my second recommendation there would be to enroll the product into Vine. And the third one would be to put it into FBA. So if you're introducing a new product, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to have the greatest visibility. So having that free 2 day shipping is certainly going to help your conversion rate. Um, and then there's also like as you're shopping, I know it did come up a few times already, but there is a filter for products that are Prime eligible only. And as soon as you have a Prime member that clicks that filter, they won't even see your product if it's not an FBA. So, new product, optimize that listing, enroll it into Vine to help you start getting your reviews, and then put it into FBA.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. So you mentioned that there's another Prime Day coming that I am copiously taking notes about because I'm thinking ahead to that busy time of the year. Holidays, teacher gifts, family gifts, all of that. A fall Prime Day sounds like a great opportunity to start getting ahead of the game. Not that I would ever be running late on things like lunch boxes or, you've got backpacks that you're still working on, things like that. So for the sellers that we have here that may be new to Amazon, can you just let us know what you mentioned Seller Central, I believe it was. Can you talk us through those programs and how quick or not quick, depending on how they can get through so that they can get their product up on Amazon. They've completed the training, the how-to videos, and they're essentially off to the races.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna direct our audience to like three different areas here. So the first thing you can do is you can go to sell.amazon.com, and that is a public facing site. It's gonna walk you through the steps of getting started. So it's gonna walk you through like how to start. You can create an account. You can watch some videos, you can get a better understanding of fees, you can get a better understanding of like the products that you can offer, some of the different Amazon programs. So again, that's just sell.amazon.com. So that's where I would get started. I also mentioned Seller University. And so Seller University is a like tremendous resource for our sellers. There's a ton of training videos on there that's gonna give you step-by-step tutorials for our new sellers as well as our seasoned sellers. So there's gonna be step-by-step tutorials of like how to label your product, how to create a shipment, how to enroll in Vine, how to create a virtual bundle. So there's videos on like every topic there. So I would definitely recommend that. There's also like, even if you go on YouTube, we do have Seller University on YouTube. So you'll see like, of course, there's other content creators out there, but you'll see ones that are from Amazon. So I would recommend using those just to ensure that you're using like accurate information in those videos. And then also you had asked about Seller Central. So once you're a seller on Amazon, you're going to have access to Seller Central. And that's what you're going to use to manage your products, your listing, your like enrolling in different programs. There's a ton of resources on Seller Central that are going to help you navigate the different programs. It's going to give you recommendations for improving your sales. So you'll be managing all aspects of that on Seller Central.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So to wrap it all up, essentially, Amazon is trying to make it easy for a seller to get their products into the hands of Amazon customers. You have gone through so many different programs, resources, incentives, all kinds of opportunities for entrepreneurs to really grow and launch, even scale their business. There's so many different incredible options. Thank you for walking us through all of these. I know for me personally, I'm going to have to go through and review some of the talking points that we just covered because you spurred so many different great thoughts. Anupa, is there anything that we've missed that you want to double down on? What are some of those big key takeaways aside from those three recommendations you just provided? Is there anything else we want people to remember top of mind as they walk away today?
Um, well, I would say, getting started on Amazon is easy. We want to make it as easy as possible for new sellers, for existing sellers. We're continuing to introduce new products. continuing to invest in our fulfillment network and our marketing efforts. Um, the key here is kind of how we started with this. You know, we know our customer really well. We're constantly collecting that data. We know they're looking for easy. We know they're looking for reliable. We know they're looking for quick. So we want to do everything we can to help our sellers, you know, meet those three, because that's what we know our customers are looking for. So, um, and you know, other than that, I would say like those are some of the key points. I really, really enjoyed this conversation today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Um, Really, really excited about this partnership.
Yes, thank you for being here with us today and for spending time and just giving us a little piece of your brain on that extensive Amazon knowledge. We very much appreciate it. For everyone that is joining us today, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your questions ahead of time as well in your registration. As a reminder, when you leave the meeting today, you'll be getting a survey. We would love your feedback and any additional questions that you may have. And the recording will follow in your email as well. So if you're looking for more information, you'll find out some more in this follow-on email and the survey. Also visit us at ivmf.syr.edu to learn more about the various entrepreneurship programs and resources that we have, including a Mission to Marketplace event partnered with Amazon coming up in San Diego at the end of September. We look forward to seeing you all and hope to see you again soon at another IVMF event. Thank you all. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.